Welcome to the Malloy Siblings Memories.
That would be us.
And it all began.
It all began. And we're on memory
In the
medication.
beginning.
Well, I was the firstborn, so I guess I should take it up first. They tell me, Mother and Daddy, they tell me I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. We never lived in Little Rock, Arkansas. But I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. They went there because they heard that I was going to be born. So, actually, I think we were living in Pine Bluff. I remember nothing about Pine Bluff. I don't even know how many F's are in Bluff. And then we went to the hospital where thereupon I was born in Little Rock. And after all these years, we've never had a reunion of all those babies that were born in that hospital. Never. Well, sometime later, they tell me we moved to Altus, Oklahoma, where Daddy was continuing to preach. And from there we moved to, they tell me, I don't remember Altus either, to Paris, Texas, whereupon Margaret was born. No.
Correction.
Were you born in Altus?
No. I was
You were
born
born.
in Tyler, Texas. We
Yeah.
never lived there either.
What? She was born in Tyler. We never
Really?
lived there. Why? They never tell me these things. I wonder where they found you.
Well, our grandparents lived there, and we were living still in Altus. And Mother, having to take care of you, which was a big job, needed help when I was going to be born, so they moved. Didn't move. They went. They went.
We straightened up.
They went to Tyler to be so my grandmother could help with you while I was being born.
He needed help. That's grandmother Malloy.
Malloy.
Yeah, it's my dad's side of the family.
So-
Her real name was Grandmama.
After I was born, and for a little while, I don't know. we still lived it out.
We still live in Ellis when you were born?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
When I was 3 months old, we moved to Paris, where Daddy continued to preach at the First Presbyterian
Yeah.
Church
In
there.
Paris. Go ahead. From there, what now?
I grew.
You grew. Well, anyway.
And later,
Let's get John born here. The late John Malloy. I was born later. In Paris. Texas.
we lived there. He was born there.
Something
early.
01 Church Street.
They let me be born in the town that we lived in. So
201 South Church Street,
201
201
South
South
Church.
Church.
which was later changed to 801.
Changed to what?
801 South Church Street.
Oh,
They started numbering from the railroad track towards town. That made it 201 because we were 2 blocks from the railroad track.
We were
Then-
that close, my goodness.
And then later, the town was growing, so they changed numbering them from the middle of town out, so it became 801.
yeah,
So,
801's what I remember.
now there's a story I had forgotten about.
Well, I remember that Paris had a little bandstand,
In the park.
which we would go and ride our little tricycles,
Yes.
and they were making a movie of the Our Gang comedies,
Oh,
and the
Little
kids,
Rascals.
Little Rascals, and they all wore raggedy clothes, and we had a Paris contest. So we were all supposed to go up to this bandstand where they were filming something, and in our raggedy costumes. I remember I had on some baggy pants with a rope over my shoulder holding them up, but I wasn't raggedy enough, I guess. So I think the prize was you get to be in one of them as a gang back there. But I just remember that. I remember even seeing.
I think he was too raggedy.
It could have been, yeah. But enough about my Sunday clothes. We would go there for mainly, riding tricycles, running up and down the little concrete walkways
Yeah, it was
around the
pretty,
bandstand.
It had like Greek columns on the bandstand.
Yeah.
And in the summertime, the bands from somewhere came out and played there.
Yeah.
And people would go, and we went with Mother and Daddy, and they'd have spread the quilt out on the
Yeah.
on the
On the
grass,
ground.
and we would at night and have concerts, and people would be spread all over the park, and that was enjoyable. Summer evenings, so we didn't have TV.
Kind of like in the Music Man where they had a little bandstand.
It was pretty.
I remember there was a square in Paris where us kids went to. I remember I had a dime or something. We were going to buy Mother a Christmas present, and we went in this jewelry store, and they had anything for a dime. And I remember sitting outside the door on the floor while something was going on inside, and so I just kind of held out my hand. Somebody put a dime in my hand. Y'all didn't know about that.
No. Held out on us.
So,
Fortune.
So I retired right then and there.
I do remember though when you and I were in that age bracket that we were going to make some money, and unbeknownst to our parents, we took a bunch of coat hangers and went door to door trying to sell
All the way down the street,
and up the next block.
Church Street, and then into the next street, and
We're
came all the
trying
way
to sell
back.
them for 10 cents a
We
piece.
did finally sell some to the lady that played the organ for our church.
Shuggy? Oh no.
No, she was young,
Oh.
just married couple, and they needed some coat hangers, and I guess they gave us some
Poor
money.
preacher's kids.
Yeah,
Till our parents found us
we
and
didn't
brought
have
us
it.
home.
I remember in the Paris home though, of course, I don't know if air conditioning had been invented
Oh,
then.
no.
But we had one of those huge iron heavy fans from the church in our house. With that huge kind of heavy plastic that they used to make telephones out of. Heavy plastic, metal might even been, but it would oscillate, I think.
Well, when we were in Freeport, we'd go over to the church and get it off the fellowship hall up on the stage. There was a stand-up fan like that, and it would rotate. It was all metal, and we'd go carry it over there at night because we didn't have air conditioning then.
Yeah.
And it would blow on you, and then come back and blow on me, and come back and blow on you, and come back and blow on me.
In our bedroom, yeah.
In our bedroom, yeah. Because our windows were up high. Margaret was on the corner and had low windows. Mother and Daddy were on the corner. They had low windows. And we were in a little room with windows that started here and went
Yeah,
up.
that's right.
And Margaret had this huge bedroom. Huge bedroom. It's kind of like a mansion.
Oh yeah, my
least 10 by 10.
bed filled it up.
She had a double bed in there,
And
and
you
then
barely get
room on
around
each
it.
side, and an entrance to the bathroom from her side, and our little closet that John and I were stuffed in. We had two little bunk beds that are sitting side by side, and you could barely stand between them. You had to walk sideways.
That's not true.
An open closet. The closet didn't even have a door.
No,
had
it didn't.
Curtain
No,
or something hanging over it.
None
Just
of the
had the
closets
rod
had
across
doors.
there.
Yeah, because of the humidity down there at Freeport. We
Is that
got to
why?
Freeport. We got to go back to Freeport.
Oh, we're in Paris, aren't we?
Oh, we're still in Paris, Texas now. Christmas time in
Oh, yeah.
Paris.
Yeah, Christmas.
We'll talk about Christmas there. It was wonderful.
That was next
I remember though. I remember going to the square and seeing this dollhouse through the
that's
through the
right.
front of the store,
I
and there
remember
was
that.
this teeny little. You could see in the window in the dollhouse. The light was on, and Santa Claus was in there with a telephone in his hand,
And talk
you
to
could
you.
pick up a phone and
talk
see
to
the
you.
man talking to you, and you talking to him. And we figured that's how he got down the chimneys. He's this big.
And that's why I would not ever believe that there wasn't a real Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah,
That
they actually
convinced
talked to
me.
you.
I could
Yeah.
see the little man in there.
Yeah.
We could talk to him. And it was very
Proof,
exciting.
proof.
I mean, when I was 10 years old, my daddy had to sit me down and tell me, Margaret, there is no Santa Claus. Yes, there is. I saw him.
Okay, so question. What did y'all's parents tell you about Santa? Like, did they say he's real, or did they say, like, he's
They never
mythical,
tell us
or-
anything.
I
We
don't
just
They
saw
never
him.
said really anything.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
The Santa filled our stockings and stuff like that. It just,
Okay.
And we'd see
just
pictures.
happened, yeah.
Okay.
But dadgummit, my stocking was full of nuts, and I hate nuts. Mother put in pecans and these little Brazil nuts, I guess they call them.
Yeah.
You call it all kind of things, but that's what I'm gonna
You
call
call
it.
them all kinds of things, yes.
There's another one.
Anyway, and fruit.
Yeah, we could eat the fruit though.
Yeah, and that was our big deal stocking. Probably had some peppermint or something in there
It was
too.
good then.
Oh yeah, it was good then. But we had the tree, We had all these presents in it. And I remember the stockings. Was there a fireplace in the living room?
Are you talking about Parish or Freeport?
Paris.
Parish, there was a fireplace.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember where the tree was. Was it in the corner by the fireplace or was it in the dining room? Anyway, the best part about Christmas there that we all remember well, except maybe was the choirs all came together at Christmas time in the Methodist church, which was called the Temple of Paris, because it had a big dome. It was beautiful, big church with seating around balconies, and Shuggy Thompson, who lived down the street from us, was their organist, and I could just see her long bony fingers, She played this huge pipe organ, and everybody that had the children included and the adults in the choirs. We all wore white robes and carried candles, and the music would start. The church would be dark, and it was just full of people, but the two doors on each side of the pulpit area would be opened, and the children would come out, and everybody was singing and marching to In the Lonely Midnight.
That's where we learned that.
Carrying the lit candles.
And as the more people came out, the more in the singers, the lighter the church would be. And they would walk around and down the aisles and around and up into the balconies and around till it was just all aglow.
Yeah.
And it had about 15 verses to that song. But it's been our tradition in our family.
Yeah.
Every Christmas Eve, we march at home carrying candles in the dark and sing that song.
Yeah.
And we have through our growing up years, through my married life, growing up, and even with our children, and we've done it until just the last 2 or 3 years when we lost the music.
I've got a copy
But
of the
I do
words.
have it now. We found it 2
okay.
years later. But that was so special. In fact, we introduced it at Oak Grove one year and had the church do it at a Christmas Eve service.
Oh, really?
Huh. Well, I remember too that Shuggy Thompson, their organist,
Yeah.
was kind of like the Queen of Paris. It was, like she said, it's the big church in town, bigger than our little First Presbyterian Church. And I think there was a Cumberland or some other kind of Presbyterian church too. But anyway, Shuggy Thompson during the week had her own piano studio where she taught private lessons. And I took private lessons from her. And I remember it's a second story of a little brick building, and the street in front of us went down toward the Methodist Church and on out to Camp Maxey, which was a military base real close to, I don't remember going out there, but I understand it was real close to the city somehow. And I remember looking out the window, no AC, so the window would be open. I would just go look out and see truckloads of soldier prisoners in Paris, Texas, from the war. Somehow they ended up in Paris, going down the street, and I noticed that they don't look like the drawings you see of the Japanese with the slanty eyes and a little beanie, because they were German, and of course they looked just like us.
Yeah.
I was just astounded, and I never did go out there to the base, but to see World War II German prisoners that close brought the World War to my attention, and especially when we would have blackout nights at home, and Daddy was the some kind of block warden or something. He was supposed to go around and make sure everybody's lights were off, and we're all looking for airplanes. We're supposed to report if an airplane came over Paris, Texas. I don't remember one coming, but I do remember the lights out and
We get on the sofa and look out the front window.
yeah. Our next door neighbor in Paris, his name was Mr. Boyd, and he had chickens in his backyard. Because I remember the chicken getting loose and running down the driveway between our houses.
You know what I remember about that?
What's that?
Him wringing the neck of a chicken and that chicken running.
That's right. I wasn't going to go into the bloody gore, but there was a headless carcass running down the driveway. Our front yard had a big tree in it, and I remember being out there in the front yard. You were dressed as a nurse. I was dressed in my something.
Soldier.
Soldier.
Or not doctor.
I think.
We had a nurse and a doctor outfit.
Well, yeah.
Because we had little kits, you know.
Well, I remember playing out there under the tree with you, and And I don't know where John was.
In the bassinet, probably.
Yeah,
We also had army outfits. I had a
yeah,
wax.
yeah.
But when you were talking about the music studio, I think that was above the bakery, wasn't it? Or right in the
I
same
don't know who
block?
was on the first floor.
Because we drove down that street going to church, and Sunday mornings you could smell that
Oh my goodness.
dough rising. It just made your mouth water. And that bakery, it smelled good in that studio, so it had to be right around there.
Of course, with the windows open too.
Yeah.
As we were talking about the war, a lot of the soldiers that stayed at Camp Maxie would go to our church, and I remember Mother and Daddy would have game nights for them. And one of the thing I do remember that this may not be real kosher to tell or whatever.
We can bleep it out.
They were playing. They did skits and things, and they blacked up. As far as I can, you might help me on this one. They were playing
Throwing dice.
roll them bones, the song. And then they had a real policeman scheduled. He came running in and blowing his whistle and scared everybody running.
Well, Mother had made arrangements with the
Yeah,
police department
to
to
do
get the
that.
biggest, ugliest cop to come in. And so this big guy came in there, tweet, tweet, with his whistle and uniform. Of course, this is in the church fellowship room. And members of the church all around, and here we were, I guess we were in it.
We were somewhere around watching
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
But that made an indelible impression, I guess, for some reason.
And a lot of the
Fun.
soldiers would come in for that, and that's where we met Jack
Jack
Chapin.
Chapin, yeah, and he was from Illinois or somewhere up north. And he was a soldier that stayed at our house some. Mother and Daddy would have over a lot. And Mother started writing to his mother, and she sent cards to each of us every birthday, every Christmas. She sent wedding presents. We never met her, and but she kept up through all the years until her death. And our parents
Sure did.
That is so new.
But once in a while, we would have soldiers or maybe
Minnie-
their wife
Minnie
stay
Chapin.
Minnie Chapin. Other soldiers we had an extra bedroom for a little while. That some of them would stay there. I don't know if it was just for a weekend.
Are you talking about behind the house?
No, the front, the front bedroom.
Mhm.
When John was still a baby in the bassinet, in Mother and Daddy's room, you and I shared twin beds in the middle bedroom. Then there was a front bedroom.
Yeah, the guest room. Okay.
But when he got old enough to get into a bed, well, I went to the front bedroom and y'all shared that room.
Once again.
Well, you should have been an only child. Okay. Anyway, it was fun growing up there because Mother and Daddy, we had a game night every Friday night, I think. They would have family night and have something fun for us to do. And some of the games, I don't remember what they were. I just remember it was heavy hangs over your head. That they'd hold something over
this
your
is
head.
at home.
At home,
Yeah.
yeah.
You had to
That
guess.
and you had to guess if it was
It's all liquid.
They
gas.
said it's fine or super fine.
super fine. And
Meaning,
fine,
was it male or female?
female. But who it belonged to, I guess.
Mhm,
that
what it
thing.
was.
But I never heard that game anywhere else.
No.
So
That's the kind of board game we could afford. Preacher's
I know y'all played charades a lot.
that was more in Freeport.
Yeah,
Freeport,
with
okay.
Aunt Toddy.
When I was old enough to communicate.
Yeah. You see, but when John in Paris, one thing I remember about him that Mother wrote down, that's why I remembered, I guess. But she had baked a lemon pie, and it was setting out to cool. John must have been about 2 or 3. And anyway, after a while, Mother went in the kitchen, and there was a big scoop out of that pie. And she said, "John, did you get my pie?" No, ma'am. "John, did you get in my pie?" "No, ma'am." "John, did you get in my pie?" "No, ma'am. Mr. Boy's chicken's got your pie."
I don't remember that at all.
I remember.
But that was thinking on your feet. No wonder you became a lawyer.
So,
Oh,
Goodness.
and we had a breakfast room with, you know about this, the merit and demerit board. Little pegboard that they hung up in the breakfast room. and our names were by all these little pegs, and it had the things we were supposed to do every day. Get up, dress, wash your teeth, wash your face, make your bed, whatever our little chores were.
Clean your plate.
And if we missed one, we got a demerit.
Ooh.
And if we got one, we got a merit. I don't remember what the outcome of that was.
No.
Oh, but something I do remember an outcome.
Yeah, the demerits.
A spanking.
Wasn't a spank, it was a switching.
A switching,
Yeah.
was a spanking.
Switching.
I remember when we were bad, and which wasn't very often at all.
Not for you.
There was a hedge along the street side of our side of the house.
All the way from the front yard to the
A
backyard.
privet hedge, and they would send us out to the hedge.
And you have to get
You had
the
to
stick
pick
yourself.
the switch and take all the leaves off, and then on my poor little legs, and it would sting. But you learn a lesson that way, I can tell you.
I bet.
The good part of that backyard, I'm sorry, I'm doing all the talking. We had a sandbox right by the back door.
Yes, sandbox.
And in the hot summer, it's under a mulberry tree. So it was
Fig
cool.
tree.
No, it was down by the garage.
Where was the fig tree? It was
By the garage.
Oh, yeah, it was. You're right. By the front of the garage.
But anyway, the sand was always cool, and I can still feel that on my bare feet and shorts, sitting in that sand, moving your toes around. Felt so good. But the fig tree was by the garage
Yeah,
door.
I remember now.
And it was big and sprawled out, and we could get under there and play like it was a big
My
house.
mother made the best fig preserves.
Oh,
Yeah.
they were delicious.
That's what?
Fig
Fig
preserves.
preserves.
And we could kind of climb up a little bit in it because we were little. But that was a fun place to play. We didn't have a lot of games.
And across the street from our the garage,
The garage.
driveway went out to the street, and right across the street was a house
That was a little store.
that had a store in it, but it was a house. Because I remember climbing up the big old concrete steps to get in there, and I went over there one time that I remember. We had a family council. We didn't have any money, and somehow Dad had been able to give me at least a what do you call it, where they give you a weekly something?
Yeah.
Allowance.
Allowance.
Rations. Oh.
And I had saved up, and
He was rationed for other reasons.
I had saved up some money, and we didn't have enough money. We needed milk. And so I said, well, I've got my savings. I had 50 cents. So I took my 50 cents and went across the street, climbed up they were, for my legs, they were big steps. Went in there, and they gave me a glass bottle of milk. And so coming out, I dropped it on the concrete step and broke that thing. And they went back, and I went back, I was just, floor. We didn't have any money. That was my allowance laying there all over the concrete. And they gave me another bottle of milk.
Did they?
Do y'all remember that?
No.
I know.
Oh, no wonder I do, but,
Yeah.
and boy, I made it home with that. But it seemed like we were always, and we had tons of cats over there. They were all white, it seemed like.
Snowball.
We ran out of names, Snowflake, Snowball, Snow, this, that, and the other. And never had any trouble giving them away. We could have made some money selling them, I guess. Didn't even think about that.
When we were going on a trip one time.
From Freeport?
No, this was in Paris.
Okay.
We had a cat, and we were taking it out to some person. I think it was somebody that helped us out sometimes, working for us, a maid or something, out in the country. Because I remember there was tall weeds everywhere around in the field. And we took the cat. She was going to keep it for us while we were gone. And when we got there, the cat went crazy, just crying all over the car, and jumped out and ran through the field, and we never saw it again.
Wow. Must have been some catnip out there or something.
I don't know why, but it wasn't wanting to go. It sure wasn't.
Oh, my goodness.
I remember the happy, laughing, sunshiny atmosphere where Mother had her hair done in Paris. She went out to a lady's house to have her hair done, and all the laughter that took place in like a little gazebo or something in the lady's front yard. And I remember seeing the fun that they were having. I don't know if y'all were there or not, but I remember that, and it was great for Mother because she was. The Paris folks were very friendly to Mother and Daddy. There was a lot of domino games with the Baxters. Mr. Baxter had a grocery store, and we would go out to their house to play. They played dominoes. I don't know what we did. What did we do? You remember that?
No,
You remember going to the Baxters?
no, I don't.
Really?
I was
Well, I
3 or 4
remember.
years old.
I remember she was going to serve us some fruit cocktail, opened a can, and my big old mouth, I said, I want all the cherries. And sure enough, she picked all the cherries out of that
Oh,
thing and
my
gave me this bowl of
goodness.
cherries. Nobody else had any cherries. I was so embarrassed. I was absolutely devastated. To this day, and I'm 85 now, that's still, oh gosh, my mouth. I thought surely she'd say, yeah, right, and laugh it off.
Yeah.
But no, she took me seriously.
Was it Mr. Baxter that sat on the back row in the church and took care of John, I think? Who was it? Another? It might have been Mr. Baxter. It had a cigar, and it seemed like
In church?
John, yeah, he was just kind of took John under his arm and
Well, I say,
Um,
might have.
kept him quiet, and gave him gum or something.
Give me a cigar.
A cigar.
I do remember about the lady that was, we were having, I guess it was Sunday night service at the First Presbyterian Church in Paris. And cause, I could stand up on the pew and there was some lady about halfway between where we were sitting kind of close to the back and the front, in the middle section, and she was about to sneeze. She goes, in the sermon, in the middle of the sermon, she, and Daddy paused, and we all paused, and she kept building up, and finally a little old, and then we went on with a sermon. I don't know why I remember that after all this time. All the tension.
What a letdown.
Was John the baby of the bunch?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just
He
5 years
still,
old.
is,
when we
he
moved
still
from there.
is, isn't he?
No, he's the oldest one now.
Well, did Mother play the piano at the Presbyterian Church in Freeport? I mean, in Paris?
No.
Then why wasn't
Adelaide.
I sitting with her instead of Mr. Baxter?
Maybe she was in the choir. I don't know.
Oh, might have been.
Adeline Burley or Carrie Beth.
Yeah, I Lou Burley. That was
Carrie-
one that we sold.
Carrie Beth played the organ.
Carrie Beth. Yeah.
Her bigger sister. I was in her wedding. I was a junior bridesmaid. I turned 6 while we were there in Paris. And I do remember on my birthday that Mother and Daddy had kind of a little treasure hunt in the house, and they would leave a note in the living room, and it would tell me to go somewhere else. And then it would go there, and another note would tell me to go somewhere else. And it took me all over the house and ended up in my bedroom. And on the dresser was just a little silver boat thing that was just decor, I guess. And in it was a little box, and in the little box was a ring that I'd seen in the jewelry store window. Had a blue stone in it, and it was so pretty. I just loved it.
Wow.
And I had it for a few years till we got to Freeport. And on Halloween, I dressed up like a gypsy and put all the jewelry on I could. And when I got back home, it was gone.
Oh,
I'll say.
I know, it broke my heart. But I remember it. I know, it's been hard.
It would be. Oh.
Let's see. Do you remember roller skating?
Yes.
And the kind of skates
with the
we had
key
to have.
thing that
Yes.
put them on
You
your
had to
shoes.
tighten your, they
Yeah.
would fit onto your soles of your shoes, and they
Yeah.
would come off. And
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
such a, boy, these people with shoe skates now, I had it made.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was easy.
But we would glom those things on and go sailing down the sidewalk or street.
Boy, if you fall on that sidewalk too, that was
Oh,
rough.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ripped your skin up.
I remember this too in Paris. I was finally able to go to the library, the public library, and check out a book. And I was glad that, we left there, I was halfway through the 4th grade. January of 48. We left there in a bus going to Freeport. So back in Paris, I checked out a book that was, it looked like I could read. And I brought it home, and I took my little chair, my little rocking chair, out to the sidewalk. Here's the street and the sidewalk. Well, there's a little piece of concrete between the sidewalk and the curb that I put my chair in. And I was reading aloud to let everybody in the neighborhood know about it.
That you could read.
I remember that thing, yeah. And I read that book, and said, okay, let's go back to the library. I've read it now. So we went back to the library, and they accepted the book back, but I couldn't check out another one because I had checked that one out the same day. And they don't, and I never did check another book out of that library.
Huh.
So I say to this day,
That's why you can't.
it's not a good place. That's why I can't read, unless it's got pictures. But that's a poor policy. You know, if somebody can read and wants to read, encourage them. Don't discourage them.
Yeah.
Crying out loud.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, we enjoyed snow in Paris. You might remember making a snowman or something. You still don't?
No.
Well, we got pictures of you in your little snowsuit.
Maybe that'll.
One thing you probably remember was the when the telephone company went on strike.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh.
did you tell this in your story?
No, I don't think so.
The telephone, and so we would see the
Men carrying the
workers carrying their big placards, walking up down the street, and so we went home and told Mother we wanted to do that too. So she made us some signs, and
She worded it. She made them.
and you carried no more spinach. Or who
I
was
did.
just you and me? No more spinach.
No, we were
No
all
more
in it.
spinach, give me ice cream.
Yeah. And then you had a me too on yours. I think.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said no more spinach, and I said give me ice cream. And you said me too, and we walked up and down in front of our house. And the next day or two,
Well, somebody took a picture of it or something.
Yeah.
we found a picture of it in the newspaper, the Parish News, on the front page, I think, and
Of us.
of us doing
With our
that.
placards.
We've got a cutout of that in there. Scrapbook.
And
And
the
then the
local-
next day, Cabell's Ice Cream Company sent us a gallon of ice cream.
Yes.
free.
I remember that.
Yes.
Finally.
I remember the placards, I remember the ice cream.
And I remember that a horse-drawn carriage coming up to our curb, bringing us a block of ice for our ice box.
oh my goodness.
And it had those tongs,
Yeah.
and would come in and bring them in. But it was a horse-drawn thing, and it was from the company was well, it was the ancestor of today's 7-Eleven. It was
Just 7? 3? I don't know what they were.
well, Southern Ice or something like that, which became the 7-Eleven worldwide franchise thing.
What I remember about a horse-drawn was the garbage collector had a wagon and pulled a horse, and he came up as a black man.
Really?
And I remember sitting on our front porch and watching him, and I felt so for him. I'm going to marry him.
Is that right? My goodness. Well, I know y'all remember they delivered milk in bottles to our door.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh,
Set them
yeah.
on by the front door.
Uh-huh. We would leave some kind of something hanging on the
Of how much we wanted or something.
two bottles or something.
Yeah.
I guess they took the bottles back.
Well, we'd probably leave the old bottles out and they'd pick them up and they'd give us new
Maybe that's
bottles
how it
or
works,
Something
yeah.
like that. I don't remember.
After that bus ride to
Oh,
Freeport,
yeah. Let's talk about that.
the bus ride to Freeport.
Because we didn't have a car. Are we going?
No.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I remember Daddy pumping me to school in
Yeah, we
in
didn't
Paris.
have a bicycle. I mean,
Daddy pumped me to school on a bicycle. Boy, do I remember the bumpy ride too. I was
The
complaining
bar
about
in
it.
the front.
we did not
yeah.
have a car. It was
No.
during the war. And so bicycles.
Walked everywhere.
Mother and Daddy rode bicycles, and we did too. And the church actually, after, I don't know when, but finally they gave us a car
They did?
for us to use. I remember when they drove up and we were so excited.
Wow.
Well, it wouldn't really give it to us. It was to use while we were there. So when Daddy took the job in Freeport, they took the
kept
car
the car,
back.
yeah.
And so we just went from Paris to Freeport in a bus. And I remember us sitting by the window and looking at it and thinking, my home is right here. I don't have one there. I don't have one there yet. But
On the
this
bus.
is it right now. This is where I live. You know?
On the bus.
And on that bus, I remember thinking, we're going down where the ocean is. And I've seen pictures of oceans where it's like a very light blue sky and then a dark series of seas.
Oh.
And that's the
Somebody
ocean.
drew it.
So I was looking for something like that for the ocean. And I still don't know.
It was this, wasn't it?
It didn't have any foam. It was just this cursive C's.
I don't remember anything about the bus trip. They must have had me in a suitcase or something.
Well, you
Cheaper
were
that way.
They threw you on top of the bus.
But in Freeport, we got 48 Plymouth, didn't we?
We didn't have a car the first year, I know,
Okay.
because Mr. Brewer loaned us a car once a week for Daddy to go shopping and do the visiting. And we lived right next door to the church in Freeport, which was nice.
Swanky address, 114 Ash Street.
Yeah,
But it was at a good location because
close to downtown.
it was about 2 blocks from downtown. And
And about 1 block from the shrimping industry.
That's true. The shrimp boats came
everything
in.
was.
That's right. There was First Street.
The shrimping industry.
We were on like 2nd Street, wasn't it?
It was between 1st and 2nd Street.
Yeah, where we lived.
Yeah,
And then there was the
all the shrimp boats on
the
the
shrimp boats
If you
and
go
the
down-
jet, not jetties, the
levee.
levee. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if
And
you
all the
went
shrimp
one
boats
block,
come in, you
one
could smell 'em.
direction, you would get to where your school was.
Yeah, junior high.
The junior high was over by the old Brazos River bed. And then 2 blocks the other way was our grade school. So we could walk to school either direction. And we thought we had the biggest yard over there, between the house and the church. And to go back later, it's like, good grief, it's hardly as big as this one.
Yeah.
But we played all kind of things out there.
Oh yeah, it was.
Super.
I remember actually living there. We had a kind of a club that we had. There was a couple of kids that lived a house or two down on 2nd Street, around the corner. That Joy and her brother Buddy.
Buddy.
George.
George.
Their last
And
name.
so to join the club, they had to do all this stuff, run around the house how many times, and do this, that, and other stuff we made.
This was our entertainment person. He told the stories.
Me?
Yes, you told, and you provided all the entertainment. What we're to do, we played cowboys and Indians. We played detectives and robbers, and I mean, it was serious stuff too. Morris Ray Logan would come over.
Yes, the Methodist preacher's son.
He lived across another street.
Oh my goodness.
And then the Carlton twins lived down the next block.
And Robin, a block
And
or two
Robin,
away.
yeah.
Murphy.
So it was great fun. We had a mulberry tree at the corner of the house that made good pea shooters, They had little berries on them. Was it mulberry? No. China berry.
China berry tree. Oh, yeah.
China berry tree, yeah. But
Like peas in a pod,
talking about your little room y'all had when we moved to that house in Freeport, it was only a 2-bedroom house. And it kind of had a windows around a little back porch that was probably about 4 feet wide that went across to the kitchen. And so the church, to make a place for the boys, enlarged that probably just about wide enough to put bunk beds in. And that was their bedroom then. You could get in the house and then there was about 2 steps and then there were bunk beds, then the walls,
Well, I'm glad you were paying attention. I remember that.
You don't know I do. Because I had a nice big bedroom.
Are we getting the picture here? Poor baby.
I suffered. Oh, man.
You didn't want him to know what you had, did you?
But it was a much smaller house than our Freeport house, than our Paris house. But we didn't know the difference. I mean, we were just as happy wherever we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I remember in that garage out behind that house on Ash Street,
yeah,
on Halloween, we figured out a bunch of stuff that would scare people, and we tried to charge folks, and nobody came. So we finally let somebody go in for free. And, feel these spaghetti, this is supposed to be their brains or something. And
Oh my goodness.
we pulled them around the wagon to the garage.
Oh, that's too funny.
one thing I distinctly remember about that yard, we played till it got dark, and I'd sit down in the grass and watch y'all keep on going, and all of a sudden I had sat in some hour of bed.
Oh my
Yes.
word.
And I went screaming and dancing in the house, and Mother quickly drew water in the tub and shoved me down in the water, and that took care of me.
Golly.
Saved your life, huh?
Those were cloth. The bathtub
tubs.
had cloth.
Yeah, little feet.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember that too, yeah.
Sit up off the floor of the bathtub then.
Remember our phone number?
No, but I remember the knobs on the big, on the
221.
big white.
221.
Or was that the rights? Excuse me.
I remember the big knobs on the, either the bathtub or the lavatory were the big white
Porcelain type.
porcelain
Yeah.
4 direction things.
Yeah.
One thing I liked about Freeport too, that first old church, it had a vestibule with a tower and a bell.
Yes.
Oh.
And they would ring the bell on Sunday mornings, and then New Year's Eve, Daddy let us go over and ring the bell.
Oh,
Yeah.
I bet you don't ever forget that.
And it lifted me off the ground.
Yeah, it was
Big
good
bell
boy.
pulled down and pulled me off the ground.
Yeah.
That was fun too, you know,
Yeah.
you pull on it and it always pull you up with it.
Yeah.
John was in kindergarten when we moved there, halfway through, and they were putting on a play.
I started kindergarten in Paris? I didn't know that. I
Well,
don't remember it.
you probably don't remember it. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you did, but when we got to Freeport, you did.
Yeah.
And it was down at the Christian church, I think. But they were putting on a play that had some animals in it, and he was to be a cow. And so they sent home some a pattern to make out of crepe paper for his costume. And Mother made it for him, and he cried. He wasn't going to wear it. He says, "No, cows don't rattle."
I remember that.
So